I guess we might as well start with Charlie Chaplin, right?
Yeah. I mean, he is probably the most prominent guy in short films at this point.
Yeah.
And he made a pretty significant one this year. The Tramp.
The Tramp.
The titular Tramp. Not the first movie where he played the Tramp, but the first one where it is like him as a character. It is kind of, I do think it is sort of, in the movies where I've seen him play the Tramp before this, it wasn't really the character that we're used to seeing. It was a much harsher, kind of more drunker, more antagonistic version of that persona.
Yeah.
And this movie actually kind of distills that down into the sort of sweeter, more heartfelt character that we're used to seeing in his later movies.
I think this movie's delightful.
Me too.
I feel like it's a good palate cleanser from Birth of a Nation, which we'll be getting to.
Yeah.
But you don't get that palate cleanser, listener, because we're doing the shorts first.
I mean, I watched it before, which maybe was a bad idea, but it got me excited to watch the rest of the movies for this week. Before we get to the plot, I'm going to give a little, I guess, backstory to how this movie was made. Because in 1915, Charlie Chaplin left Keystone Studios, where he'd been working for the last year.
That's right.
To make movies at S&A Studios, because they paid him more money and gave him more control. I think I kind of got the impression there was almost like a bidding war going on for Charlie Chaplin. Like everyone wanted him to be making movies at their studio, and
he was just like insanely popular within his first year of working.
And S&A won out. And so this was not the first movie he made at that studio. I think it was like the fourth or fifth. But it's I don't know, Chris. How would you describe this movie?
I mean, it's so it's really solidifying his Tramp character and all of his kind of quirks and characterizations and whatnot. He's kind of a wandering hobo type, a tramp, and he happens upon this girl who is being mugged by some less photogenic tramps. And therefore evil. And he kind of like bumblingly saves her from them. He does everything bumblingly in this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she kind of, to thank him, like, offers him dinner at her house, and he ends up sort of working on her farm. And a lot of hijinks happen.
Yeah.
Eventually the other tramps come back to the farm and they say, "Hey, you're one of us, a tramp. So why don't you work with us to steal from them and whatever." And he does not, he's kind of caught feelings for this lady, and he's appreciative for her family helping him out. And so he sort of agrees, but then schemes to get rid of them clandestinely. And
more hijinks ensue.
More hijinks ensue. At the end, he gets them, but then her beau shows up, and he's like, "Wait a second, I thought I was the guy." He writes a kind of like a sad letter saying, "I thought I was your guy. And I'm sad now, so I'm gonna take my leave." And then, the movie kind of closes on this melancholic note of the lovesick tramp walking away, and then the camera, the iris
is
closes on him. Yeah,
which we've done. There's been a lot of iris stuff up to now, but this is like just the classic silent film ending of like the iris on the someone walking away. It's like it's iconic.
Yeah.
And it's kind of bittersweet at the end. Like he is walking away sadly, but then kind of right as the iris is closing in, he kind of picks himself back up and is like, "All right, back on the road."
He's a jaunty fellow.
He is. Yeah, well said.
And I mean, speaking of the way that he moves, which is just everything about Charlie Chaplin, it's so solidified here, and I feel like the Tramp character is just built out of all of these strange tics that he's decided to put in this person's motion, but the tics illustrate who he is. Like like whenever he's always tipping his hat to people, you know, or like picking his hat up, I guess, as a sort of greeting. But you know, he does it to, I think he does it to the cow, you know, like does it to everybody. That the silent movie style of acting is, I think in a lot of people's minds, is this performance, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like specifically this performance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is very astute. I mean, it's like, I had never seen this short, but it feels almost like the quintessential Charlie Chaplin short film.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like you can definitely see he directed this movie. And you can definitely kind of see his directing skills starting to grow compared to his like his early Keystone movies. The comedy in this is a lot less madcap. And there's a lot more kind of heart in this than the Keystone movies, for sure.
It's still slapsticky, but
Yeah.
I think it's the madcap nature, I think, is a good word to use, because Tilly's Punctured Romance was just throwing everything at you all the time. And this one has a lot of slapstick gags in it, but I feel like they're a little more well structured and well considered about where they're put.
Yeah. I feel like there's a little bit more comedy just coming out of like the Tramp like personality. It's less him. He falls over a lot in this movie. But it's like there is a lot of him just sort of like misunderstanding things, or like trying to do something in a funny way and it doesn't work out. It's less reliant on just like smash and grab comedy, I guess, is how I would think of like a Keystone movie. One thing he's really, really good at in this movie, and I mean all of his movies really, but this one it stuck out, of like kind of playing to camera in a way that lets the audience in on the joke a bit. Like not quite fully breaking the fourth wall, but like kind of peeking over the fourth wall almost. Like little winks to camera that really kind of make the audience feel like they're kind of being brought into the comedy, as opposed to it just sort of happening in front of them.
That's interesting. Yeah, you mean just sort of in the way that he carries himself. Like, it almost acknowledges that there's another person in the room that is the camera. In a way.
Like I don't know if he ever like directly like looks into the lens of the camera.
I don't think so.
But it's like he gets as close as he possibly can without doing that, you know?
You were talking about the gags too. This there's some like good some really good gags in this, but like this movie is obsessed with butt jokes, you know, or maybe it's just Charlie Chaplin in general.
I think it's more that,
because I mean it's like it's slapstick, right? But like we saw this in his movies from last year where he was like kicking people in the butt a bunch.
Yeah.
But let me tell you all the things that happen to butts in this movie.
You made a list.
They get kicked. They get kicked by self. They get poked with pitchfork, fallen upon, caught on fire, singed with a candle, doused in water, scratched, hit with a plank, grabbed, and then stuck out toward the camera. All within this 25-minute movie. Like everything, you know, and every one of those is a different joke, basically.
I mean, you know, butts are funny. It's just a fact.
Yeah. And so he falls really good too.
Yeah. Which is also, I mean, that is butt related.
Yes.
Because he usually falls on his butt.
And I wanna also point out my favorite gag in the movie. Like this killed me was he was trying to he's helping out on the farm and he was trying to milk a cow and he puts the bucket under the cow's udders. I guess he doesn't know how to do it, so he like takes the cow's tail and pumps it up and down as if he's like doing like a well pump, and like tries to get the milk out that way. And I was very shocked by that. I thought it was
But
very
it's
funny.
like, yeah, he doesn't look at the camera during that, but he like turns to the camera to make an expression, to have a like, this isn't working face, and then he goes back to it. It's like he's always sort of playing to camera in that way.
Yeah.
One cool thing about this that I noticed while watching it is one of the bad tramps is played by an actor named Bud Jameson, who I actually didn't know the name of before this, but I recognized him in this from his many appearances in Three Stooges shorts from the 30s and 40s. He's in so many of those as like the straight man, as the guy reacting to like hijinks happening. And I was like, is that the same guy? And it was. I think he was only like 21 when this movie came out. So he had a several decade career as like part of these like early Hollywood slapstick comedies, which I don't know. I just thought that was kind of cool.